The most recent news on changes in nature, its anomalies, interesting facts about climate and global changes on the Earth. This video is about the mysteries of nature and human septon interaction, and the survival of society at times of changes taking place globally. Hello, this is an informational and analytical broadcast on Septon Interaction of Nature by Allatra TV. We all live in the same conditions on the Earth. Our bodies are influenced by ongoing natural processes on the planet. Therefore, by taking care of our material bodies, we are interested in changes of the weather conditions. Unfortunately, to a greater extent, this care is dictated by our consumer purposes, as we have been taught by mass media just to know if we need to take an umbrella, gloves, or sunscreen when going for a walk to protect our bodies from the effects of external atmospheric factors. But for some reason, no one in the consumer society cares about the main thing. What is the weather like inside of the person? What are his everyday sufferings from the internal turbulence of septon interaction, which generates a storm of thoughts, the clouds of doubts, and a tornado of emotions? And most importantly, what has to be done and how to protect yourself from this bad weather, inspired by the septon field of human, or as they called it in ancient times, the animal mind. What to do to stabilize your internal condition? After all, if the person feels a spiritual grace within, neither external conditions and circumstances or natural disasters are able to provoke a fear and panic in him. A human body is only afraid, which is mortal, but not the personality who is walking on the path towards spiritual liberation. A statement from the report on the problems and consequences of global climate change on Earth, effective ways to solve these problems. Global climate change is one of the most important international problems of the 21st century. The overall rapid increase in the dynamics of cataclysms, which have been observed in recent decades, is particularly alarming. The world has witnessed a lot of thought-provoking events. The series of earthquakes are still taking place in the United States. Only from the last 24 hours, an officially published Datastats report stated 233 earth tremors, with the magnitude reaching 5.9 points and 6.0 points according to other sources. And when we consider the non-published data on the Yellowstone caldera, this figure will be much higher, taking into account the increase in seismic activity in this unsafe living region. A lot of earthquakes were also recorded all over the world, with the magnitude greater than 4 points on the Richter scale. Earth tremors were witnessed across the world, to the coast of Chile, East Timor, the Philippines, Indonesia, Vanuatu, New Zealand, Norwegian Sea, the southern mid-Atlantic ridge, the Bonin Island, Japan. A strong earthquake occurred in Malaysia in June 2015, with a magnitude of 5.9 points on the Richter scale. This was the largest earthquake since 1987 in the state of the country, which was accompanied by two aftershocks, with the magnitude of 4.3 and 2.8 points on the Richter scale.
Chile, September 16, 2015, a powerful earthquake that triggered the tsunami. According to Chilean seismologists, the magnitude of the main shock was 8.4 points. The first wave was followed by several aftershocks with a magnitude of 6.2 and 6.4 points. The earthquake was the sixth by damage in the history of Chile, as well as the strongest in the world since the beginning of 2015. The devastating earthquake took place on the 26th of October 2015 in Afghanistan. The earth tremors reached a power of 7.4 points. The earthquake shook a major part of South Asia, killing nearly 300 people throughout the region. The earth tremors were felt in Pakistan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, Azerbaijan, and Kazakhstan. The earthquake center lied at the depth of 212 kilometers. The earthquake was followed by two aftershocks with a magnitude of more than 4 points.
At the moment, we observe the growth of atypical weather events across the globe. And most importantly, in this regard, it matters with what type of world outlook humanity meets these challenges of nature, with a consumer, material or creative, spiritual and moral mind. In spite of all natural disasters, only by giving a helping hand to a friend, a neighbour or a stranger who is nearby, will we be able to survive all forthcoming events with dignity. Only by joining their efforts, people can survive the unfavourable external conditions. As Anton Chekhov said, take care of the human inside yourself, even when facing a disaster. After all, we all have one place to live, here on Earth. One nation, humanity. One value, life.
Anomalies of nature. Do we really understand what is nature itself on the edge of global changes? What are nature's real capabilities and what kind of forces does it possess? What is a variety of natural events and what kind of physics lies beneath the elements of nature? Many of us have witnessed and are familiar with such a phenomena as thunderstorm. Scientists who explore this phenomena study physics of atmosphere, the discipline which contemplates the structure, consistency, dynamics of events not only of the Earth's atmosphere, but on the other planets as well. This discipline also studies such less explored by mankind domain as atmospheric electricity, a set of electrical phenomena in the atmosphere. This phenomena is based on the planet's Septon field. A modern civilization has actively studied the research of atmospheric electricity in the 18th century. Founders of these studies were world-known scientists such as Mikhail Lomonosov, Benjamin Franklin, Lemonnier, Richter, and others. Back then, Lomonosov and Lemonnier have independently found out that electrical phenomena in the atmosphere occurred in the absence of storm clouds. But perhaps the most grandeur contribution in research of atmospheric electricity has been made by a famous Tesla. What are these important discoveries which were made and why still the most part of mankind does not know anything about it? You can find out from the report Primordial Allatra Physics. Curious fact, a naked eye does not see the lightning true structure, which is located inside of the storm cloud. As a matter of fact, the lightning electric charge is not just a single port, but the whole system of branches electrically connected between themselves. These observations were made by special radio location stations designed for studying thunder clouds. Thunder cloud is a certain localized area with an explicit convective and electrical activity. The average radius of thunderstorm cell is about 2 kilometers, and its top is located, for example, in mid-latitudes on 8 to 12 kilometers high. In tropical latitudes and in giant clouds, its height can reach 20 kilometers. A living time of this particular thunder cell is about 1 hour. For example, it's temporary, like everything else in this material world. Quickly born, quickly died. Everything in this world will come to an end someday. There are many known phenomena related to thunderstorm activity. For example, the Kakatumbo lightnings is a natural phenomenon in South Africa. At night, approximately on 5 kilometers altitude, electrical charges appear without any acoustic effect, for example, without any thunder, as it usually happens during thunderstorm. This phenomena lasts for 10 hours. Lightnings appear 140 to 160 times in this place around the year. This phenomena can be observed from 400 kilometers distance. Some time ago, these extraordinary light flashes were used for navigations. That's why this unique phenomena is known as a lighthouse of Maracaibo, since it is located close to the lake Maracaibo. And this is all not interesting information related to lightning anomalies. In the next video, we will tell you about phantom lightnings, ghost lightnings, which were discovered as humans reached a near-Earth outer space. There is a lot of interesting information out there in the world. But while studying external things, we shouldn't lose a main goal of our life, cognition of spiritual which lies within. For no matter what external knowledge a person would possess, it wouldn't change his spiritual nature within. Only by practical spiritual transformation in each and every day a person becomes perfect.
Today, there are many known, interesting facts related to the atmospheric electricity. Did you know that there are 1,000 to 2,000 electrically active thunderclouds at the same time, located on the planet, meaning that it thunders from 1,000 to 2,000 times per moment? It's a giant raging sea of electricity. Thunderclouds are located on the planet non-uniformly. Most of them, up to 75%, are observed in the latitudes between 30 degrees south and 30 degrees north, but they are formed throughout the year. The most severe thunderstorms are located in the following storm centers of the world: African Europe, Indonesian or Asian, and American, Central America, the northern part of South America. Recently, due to the global climate changes on the Earth, amplification of thunderstorm activity and occurrence of the new local areas are registered. Knowing the peculiarities of behavior of the Septon field of the planet, it's not surprising that most of the storm clouds appear in the mountainous areas, and the thunderstorm activity enhances significantly during volcanic eruptions and earthquakes. Research of the Septon field of the Earth, carried out by the international research team Allatra Science of the international public movement Allatra, allows to find out the true nature of huge thundercloud electrification processes, make an exact forecast of their formation long before the event itself, as well as to control and manage such events. This research opens an unimaginable outlook for the development of new, unique technologies, related not only to the protection of existing machinery, which is exposed to natural electric charges, for example, aircrafts and ships, but it brings an opportunity for the creation of entirely new devices which can be used for safe motion in any environmental space, considering the impacts of natural electric discharges on them.
Studying of the atmospheric electricity is interconnected with other atmospheric processes and more. In the 19th century, in the age of an active exploring of electricity, the famous British scientist William Thomson, Lord Kelvin, made an assumption that in the nature weather forecasts will be performed by means of an electrometer. Today, in the age of epochal studying of the Septon field, thanks to unique researches of the scientists of Allatra Science, we can say that predictions and guesses of weather are just the past day in science. The day to come is an accurate weather forecast, which in the nearest future will be available to fulfill for every person on Earth with the means of septometer. The world that surrounds us is so varied in its manifestation. It is an ocean for the widest investigations, whether it is an exploring of untraveled depth of the cosmos or driving into the unknown depth of the Earth. But all this cognition is only a supplement for the knowledge of the person by himself, his inner world, discoveries of his true inwardness. Everything on Earth, from micro to macro world, lives following its own specific laws. But let's think a bit about the base of the material life on the planet. What guides the nature and its life forms? What leads to such a delicate process flow, which supports life on the Earth for 1,000 years? In fact, if we investigate this question more deeply, we can find a great number of facts which prove that the physical matter is rational and all the processes which occur in the nature aren't accidental at all. On the contrary, they are built according to the definite program. Thousands of ants participate in building the dormitory. As a result of their productive work, we can see a compound construction with definite system of entries and venting channels. But let's experiment. The dormitory being built was separated in such a way where ants in one part of it were isolated from ants in the other part. Despite of this, construction of the anthill went on, using the same complicated scheme, and each passage, venting channel or room, which appeared to be separated by the partition, were made exactly on the joint opposite to one another. So what, you may say, is just because each individual knows how to build anthill, and it's not a problem for it. However, looking at life of insects leads the researchers to the following conclusion. If we take 2 or 3 individuals, nothing changes. But if we increase their number to some critical mass, something incredible happens. Ants, getting the simultaneous command, start to create working groups. They put small pieces of everything they get, building a column, which then will be joined by bolts, until they get the construction similar to the cathedral. Thus, it appears that one ant taken separately is not able to hold the entire information about the construction as a whole, what gives us the possibility to presume that the carrier of such information is not the separately taken termite, but the whole actual population. Isn't it curious that the crowd of a population has one more feature, some imperative impulse, like a united will, common information field, which subordinates separate individuals, especially while migration. Observing the shoal of locusts moving as a dense mass, sometimes reaching the number of 10,000 tons, it is hard to get rid of the feeling that it is one giant creature, some supermind. A powerful, insuperable impulse sets this dense, large tonnage mass in motion. So what gives the command for this movement? And what is the most important? Where does this order come from? Such pattern is also relevant for fish. If to take one separate individual from the overall stream, it loses the direction and starts to move randomly from one side to another. A separate individual is not aware neither of the direction of the movement nor of the goal, but the shoal knows. Let's turn to the practice once again. An experiment during which the fish had to overcome the maze in order to find the way out gives us a clear answer. One group of fish chooses the right direction faster than one separate individual. Or let's take, for example, a well-known 100th monkey effect, the essence of which is in the following. In Japan, on the Kojima Island, lived a colony of monkeys which were fed with sweet potatoes batat by the scientists who were throwing it around the sand. Monkey liked batat very much, but they didn't like the sand which was on it. But one day, an 18-month female monkey, Ima, found out that she can solve this problem by washing batat. She showed this to other monkeys, and when the amount of monkeys who learned how to wash the batat reached 100, all monkeys who live on the nearby islands, all of a sudden, without an external incentive, also started to wash potato. It seemed that separate individuals are just elements of some common superorganism, and their neural system and brain are the components of the common field. Septon field, or the animal mind, exists, and there are numerous proofs for it, but this is only the program of the material world. Human being, in its structure, in contrast to other creatures populating the planet, has the soul, a non-material spiritual component. And what a human chooses to exist in the strict limitations of the Septon field or live for the sake of the soul, developing inside something real, deep, eternal.
Artifacts of any culture show priorities of life, of people inhabiting one or another territory. For example, the priorities of today's civilization is material values. Can you imagine what will remain after our civilization? Destroyed shopping malls, villas, apartments, rusty cars, yachts, airplanes, ships, and the rest just a pile of rubbish. In general, a waste container of a spiritless technogenic civilization. It is interesting that earlier, people were satisfied with less in matter, but more in the spiritual. For example, the signs that were left on the dishes, houses, clothing, and other objects, residential and sacral buildings, demonstrate that earlier the majority of people had the knowledge of the structure of the universe, of the dual human nature, the spiritual and animal nature, of templates of the animal mind, the Septon field, and the true mission of a human in this world. The Cucutini Trypillian culture. How many mysteries does this culture conceal in itself? The peak of this culture took place in the 5th millennium BC in the territory of the Slavic countries of ancient Europe. Trypillian culture is renowned for many interesting artifacts, ritual wear, including a mysterious binoculars, painted bowls, unusual female figurines. In addition, this culture is more interesting by house constructions with a thought-out interior, houses with round openings, painted ritual signs and buildings, and on its exterior. The round motion of houses in the city or village system demonstrates that spiritual priorities prevailed in their society and were above material issues, templates of the animal nature. Archaeologists have noticed that the symbols used by people of Trypillian culture, and in Europe it is known as Cucutini culture, has also been used in Chinese Yangshu culture, 5th to 3rd millennium BC, as well as Göbekli Tepe megalithic structures. This is the 12th millennium BC in the territory of modern Turkey. An international group of scientists of Allatra International Public Movement has found such an artifact as the Allatra sign practically on every continent. The gap in time and geography of these cultures is enormous. The same pattern can be seen on a photo, the Allatra sign. It consists of a circle and a half moon. These artifacts are spread in different cultures, and this is despite the fact that these cultures were isolated in time and geographical space from each other. Perhaps now, thanks to the unique archaeological findings around the world, humanity is given the opportunity to understand how people of the past used to live and how to worthily live your life today, giving more attention to the spiritual work on oneself. What prevents us from arranging our life in such a way today? After all, it is not about the external environment, but about the internal state of a person. Be more spiritually enriched. Maintain an internal state of love during the day, and your life will change, as lives of those people who have comprehended the true meaning of life in the distant past. Why does an entire knowledge of a human, their own Septon field in which thoughts arise, refer to the animal nature, and is a part of a single animal mind of the universe? Why were deep feelings assigned to the unique human perception, which connected her personality with the soul, the spiritual world, and the purely creative force, granting the absolute freedom of the personality from the power of the animal mind? We will investigate these questions in later releases.